Yo, welcome to Shane's Take. I'm your host Shane Norman, and today we're going to be covering the AFC West, their draft grades, off-season moves, as well as way too early predictions on how they all match up in the standings. Now today, this is an interesting division for the simple fact that there's a lot of talent in it. High expectations last year, and it kind of just didn't live up to that. But I think this year we're going to see some changes. And we're going to start in Denver, man, just because with the addition of Sean Payton at head coach, I think coaching matters a lot as far as what you may see on the field as far as results. But I think the Broncos is a good place to start since that they finished last in the division. Now, they went out and got Mike McGlinchey in the offseason from San Francisco at offensive tackle. They went and got Ben Powers at guard. So they addressed the offensive line. They saw that was an issue. It was. Then they went out and got Samaje Perine at running back. And I love that pickup. Then they went and got Marvin Mims in the second round, which was a good pickup at wide receiver. They needed wide receiver help as well as linebacker help. And I like Drew Sanders out of Arkansas, as well as Riley Moss. He's a DB out of Iowa. So I think they did pretty good in the draft. So I think all around, I'll give them a B+, and I would expect to see a better Denver Broncos team this year. But we move along to the Las Vegas Raiders, a team that kind of left me scratching my head. If I was a Raiders fan, I wouldn't necessarily be. I'd be confused. So they went and got Jimmy Garoppolo to replace Derek Carr in the offseason. Then they went and got DeAndre Carter, who I liked, coming from the Chargers. They addressed their guard position with Alex Bars. They got Austin Hooper as well. But with the first pick of the draft, with their first pick, they went and got an edge rusher out of Texas Tech named Ty Wilson, which the player is remarkable. But was that the position that you needed? So that was really confusing to me. I didn't quite understand it. They went out and got Michael Mayer out of Notre Dame after letting Darren Waller go. He went to the Giants. So, yeah, I was just confused by their draft pick, by how they spent their first round pick. Just maybe they were trying to go for the best player off the board. But with Chandler Jones being under a 3-year contract and then Max Crosby, I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with his contract information, but I'm sure he's going to be there for a long time. So, I don't know. Just kind of scratched my head there. Thought they may have needed help in other places. But hey, it's the Raiders. So we move on to the Chargers, man. I think they didn't do much of anything. I mean, they lost DeAndre Carter. They didn't really do much in the offseason, well, as far as free agency. But I think they killed it getting Eric Kendricks. He's one of the best linebackers in the game, coming out of Minnesota. He doesn't get mentioned enough, but he's definitely one of those top-tier guys. Like, he's in that conversation with Bobby Wagner, Fred Taylor. He's always in that top 5. Solid middle linebacker. Well, top 5, top 10. But, okay, so then they went out and got Quentin Johnston out of TCU and Tuipulotu. I probably butchered that. I hope not. But he's an edge rusher out of USC. And Quentin Johnston is a wide receiver out of TCU. So they addressed, because they had a lot of injuries with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams being in and out of the lineup. So they kind of, I understand why they addressed the wide receiver position, but to go out and get an edge rusher, a young guy who could be rotational, especially considering we don't know how much longer Khalil Mack plays football, even though he's still playing at a high level. But one thing I thought was interesting was they went and got Max Duggan at QB in the 7th round. Interesting. I don't think that implies anything. but maybe later it does. Who knows? I'm sure he's not there to be a backup quarterback, but he might end up having trade value down the road. So that was I saw the value in that pick at the 7th round. That was great. But, the Chargers, I give them a B. But I love the Eric Kendricks pickup. I think with J.C. Jackson being back healthy, you have Derwin James, Asante Samuel Jr., you have him at middle linebacker. You know what they have on the edge with Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. So that just makes them dangerous. But we move on to the Super Bowl champions and the AFC West champions, the Kansas City Chiefs. They went and got Richie James out of New York, as well as Byron Cowart in free agency. They didn't do a whole lot. Nothing really too notable. But I love their draft. They went and got Felix Uzoma out of K-State. He's a DN, really long, bendy. He's probably going to be a stud. And I think putting him next to Chris Jones, on that line with Chris Jones, man, that'll be scary. Then they went and got Rashee Rice out of a wide receiver out of SMU. So if I'm projecting who's going to win or lose this division, we'll start from the bottom. I think the bottom feeders of the division will be, I believe they'll be the Las Vegas Raiders, just for the simple fact that I don't know what they're doing with their secondary. If you can't defend the pass in the NFL, you're typically not a good team. So regardless of how many points you can put up, and I just don't, they can't stop a team, and that bothers me. That was definitely something I would have addressed if I were them. But with the third team in this division, I see it being the Denver Broncos. I think what they did in the offseason and in the draft was good, but I just think they're outclassed with Kansas City and the Chargers. Now, between the Kansas City and the Chargers, that's where things get sticky. Just because even though Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and those guys and, Chris Jones, they are who they are. They do what they do over there. But you can't ignore the talent on the Chargers. It's impossible to do. I could see them upsetting everybody and being champions of the division. But if I'm projecting right now, considering who I know they have to play, I could see Kansas City being 1, Chargers are 2, and they both make the playoffs. But that's my take, man. Y'all have a good one. Let me know what your comments are in the comment section.